Hello, good evening. I felt it was important to spread a crucial message, which I've had a reminder about today, with a real life tale. I won't go into too much detail because of confidentiality, etc. But this is what I feel is a crucially important message that could save a life. So this is something that I talk about on my mental health first aid courses, and it's something that some advice that we give on these courses that I've had to put into practice today. So I had a conversation today with a gentleman who has numerous challenges in his life, and he opened up with a little persuasion about how he's feeling at the moment, partly around the pandemic, lockdown, how that's affecting him. He's struggling a little with that lack of connection, not seeing family, that type of stuff, not being hugged. But also he has some other personal issues which severely restrict what he can do on a day-to-day basis, and those restrictions are having a severe impact on his mental health. And with a little persuasion, he opened up, and he shared that he was feeling very depressed, and he said words to the effect of, this has been going on for years now, and it's getting worse, and I've just about had enough. So when he said that rang alarm bells for me, and red flags waving, and other such metaphors. So as a mental health first aid instructor, I jumped into that mode and listened, offered empathy, and mirrored his thoughts and feelings back to him, and just repeated what he said. He kind of said it again later on, and in different words, but I said, so I've heard what you said, and I feel for you. It saddens me that you're feeling this way. I can't imagine how difficult it must be for you. But I want to ask you a difficult question. I'm going to ask you a very direct question. And this is what we talk about on the mental health first aid courses. You've got to ask difficult questions, and we teach you to do so in a gentle, skillful, non-judgmental, non-confrontational way, but in a direct way. So I said, have you been having some difficult thoughts? And he said, yes. So I said, have you been thinking of harming yourself or even taking your own life? And he said, yes, at times I have had those thoughts, and I feel that it's not worth going on, words to that effect. So, as a mental health first aider, what you would do in those circumstances is, and anyone can do this. This is why I'm sharing it now, is just in case you guys ever come across somebody in this situation, ask the question, and then ascertain whether they are in crisis at that moment. So in crisis means, are they considering taking their own life now? Have they got a plan? Have they got the means to do so? And if so, that's when you would involve the emergency services. If in doubt, call 999, or at least get a friend, relative, someone that they trust to bring them on board, get them into the room, get them to talk to them, or phone the emergency services. But if in doubt, call 999. They will never be cross at you. They'll never say that you're time wasting if you believe someone is in a suicidal crisis. So thankfully, the gentleman I was speaking to today wasn't in crisis at that time, so I didn't need to take further action. But it was a real reminder for me. These skills are crucial and they could save a life. That conversation, which many of us might find difficult to do. We might not know the language to use. So, for example, we try to encourage people not to say commit suicide. So many people say that. It's part of the common vernacular. But even the word commit makes it sound like a crime, because it did used to be a crime up until about 1972, I think. It is no longer a crime. It hasn't been a crime for a long time. So using the word commit suicide, stigmatises it, stigmatises the behaviour, and brings more shame and secrecy around that if people are considering taking their own life. So we encourage you to use more accessible language, less stigmatising language, like end your life, take your own life. Not euphemisms like you're not going to do something silly, are you? Because that could be interpreted in any number of ways. And to them, taking their own life might not be silly. It might be a very sensible option given the circumstances that that person is in. So yeah, it was just a powerful reminder for me about putting into practice the skills that I teach, practicing what I preach as a mental health first aid instructor. And I'm not saying that I saved a life tonight, I'm not, because the guy wasn't in crisis, but he felt heard, he felt that his feelings had been honoured, he felt supported, I believe. And I checked in with him later, sent him an email to reiterate some of the things that I'd said, and not to cheer him up, but to show him that I feel I value him as a human being. And if he is at any point in the future considering taking his own life or just experiencing a mental health issue, then to reach out to me or one of his friends or family or a mental health professional. And I sent him a signposting resource which is available on the Hive and also on my website pathlight.org.uk in the resources section of both of those places. And it's got lots of different organisations that you can signpost people to, categorised by mental illness. So people are self-harming, people are considering suicide, people are depressed, anxious, eating disorders, all that type of stuff. There are lots and lots of wonderful organisations out there that can help. People on the end of phones, there are apps, websites, resources, and face-to-face counselling that's available to people who are experiencing these difficult periods in their life. So there's always hope for recovery, there's always help out there, and yes, there might be waiting lists, but there also might be wonderful human beings or other interventions that can help right now. So, if you ever come across someone who is struggling and you think they're showing signs of potentially having suicidal thoughts, just ask the question. And you don't need to go straight in for the big one. You can do it by degrees. Start off with something like, have you been having some difficult thoughts? And then the next stage might be, have you been thinking of harming yourself? And finally, have you been thinking of taking your own life? And if it's a yes, then you establish, have they got a plan? Have they got the means to take their own life? Do they know when and where they're going to do it? And if so, you know that that is a crisis and you need to get the authorities involved. 999. So, like I say, I'm glad I didn't have to go to those lengths today, but it was a lovely example of practicing what I preach and hopefully supporting that gentleman, and hopefully I will be in contact with him again, and he will live to fight another day, as it were. So I hope that's helpful. It's a powerful message. Please feel free to share it, and if you've ever done that yourself, or if you do so in the future, then please feel free to comment. Let us know what you did, how it went. Was it difficult for you? What language did you use? Just maintain confidentiality. Don't use the person's name or anything that could identify them if you are going to share your story about interventions that you may have made. So that's it. You could save a life just by asking those simple questions. And best wishes to you if you ever find yourself in that position. So don't be afraid. Go for it. Ask the question. Possibly save a life. And also at the same time, remove stigma around suicidal ideation, around mental health issues. And let's normalise this conversation. Okay, that's all. Take care and hopefully see you soon. Bye.